everybody. Welcome to Pure Bursts, our live video. We're here today talking to Beck, who's an expecting mom. Very intrigued by her history. Her history is, though she comes from Australia, so anything she says we think sounds beautiful no matter what she says to us. We just want her to talk. And she's had some vaginal deliveries in Australia, a C-section for a preterm baby, and also unassisted in Australia. And now she's been here back in the States, and she's had a unassisted here, ended up in an unassisted delivery, and now in America she's going to be birthing with Pure Births. We're here to support her in her home birth in quite a few months from now, because she's newly pregnant.
Yes.
But we wanted to hear a lot from you about the differences birthing here in the States, what that looks like to you compared to birthing in Australia, how the midwifery rules are different, how you feel the care is maybe different, and a little bit about all your experiences, and by far, what was your favorite experience?
Okay, so I don't really have much experience here in regards to hospital care, so I'm not sure. I only know stories of what I have heard about births in hospital, which is quite different to the births in Australia, as we have midwife-led care in hospitals. Most of the time, people can choose to have an obstetrician, and usually through your pregnancy with midwives, you will see an obstetrician in the hospital, I think, around twice. Once sort of in the 20-ish weeks, and then once towards the end around 36 weeks. And that's just, that's the same as the midwives, I guess. I'm not really sure.
Are these midwives delivering only in hospitals, or is home birth or birth centers options as well?
Birth centers are definitely options. Some hospitals also have a birth center in the hospital. So as part of the hospital, there's a birth center, and then there's the hospital births. But most of the time, independent midwifery is quite different in Australia compared to here. It's probably a lot easier to have a midwife here in the States than it is in Australia. The home birth climate in Australia previously was midwives were very limited on who they could take on. If your BMI was high, if you VBACs, things like that, they couldn't do due to like insurance and risks and things like that. So they were very limited in what they were able to do.
But is it legal for you to choose a home birth midwife in Australia at that time? Okay. Yeah. And is it covered by some insurance, or does it end up being an out-of-pocket expense?
So there's two types. There is, you can do it through a hospital. So the hospital will have, I think it was only one hospital out where we lived that did it, but other states did have it, where you could do a home birth program through the hospital. But you had to meet very, very strict criteria for that to happen. And then that was covered under your Medicare. And then to hire an independent midwife cost out of pocket.
What was the rate there? Do you have any?
Usually, depends on the midwife or who you went through, but usually around $5,000.
Okay. And that being said here, because it's so much less here, so $6-7 grand. It's more expensive in Australia.
Yes.
So probably equivalent to that.
Yeah.
All right. So your choice to, so you VBAC'd because you ended up in a C-section with, which child was that? Number 5. So you had all these vaginal deliveries.
Yes.
And then your son decided to come earthside a little early.
Yes.
And so you ended up having a C-section. And then you VBAC'd.
I did.
After.
Yes.
And how did that choice come upon you to VBAC? Was it a no-brainer? Did you do your research?
We did a lot of research. And because my son, who did come early, was a planned home birth with a midwife. And then my water broke at 29 weeks, so we didn't really get much choice. But the difference too was they were going to give me 5 days in hospital with my waters broken on antibiotics to show no signs of infection. Then I was going to be able to go home.
Wow.
And I would just have to come in every second day for monitoring, blood tests to check my CRP levels, and they were going to try and get me to 36 weeks. But I did show signs of infection after 5 days.
I've never heard of any options like that here in America of real collaborative care between the patient and the medical staff to try to still be able to support the wishes of a vaginal delivery, a healthy vaginal delivery.
Yes.
Wow.
Because they want the babies in there as long as possible.
Right.
So, yeah, if there was no infection, I was going to be able to go home on bed rest and just get taken into hospital every 48 hours for monitoring.
And that plan to you sounded great, I'm sure, at the time, right?
Yes, because it was around Christmas time. I wanted to go home.
And then, unfortunately, developed an infection, and they decided it was best to deliver.
We were at a crossroad. We could wait and see if the infection developed or if it eased up. But the more we waited, the more danger he was in.
Right.
So it was kind of like we were at a point where we had really to make a choice.
Right. Okay. And so you had Linus.
Yes.
And then your birth after that, your VBAC decision, and the birth went well.
Well, yeah. We did a lot of research. I spoke to a lot of people because it was a classical cesarean. So my risk was a tiny, point something of a percent higher than a normal VBAC.
Slightly higher.
Very, yeah. And we made sure that I had a posterior placenta, so my placenta wasn't in my scar, and that baby had engaged well leading up to birth, so there was no pressure on my scar from an unengaged baby's head.
And this is with midwifery care for the VBAC?
This was, or
collaborative OB?
I did a lot with my GP. Okay. I consulted with a few midwives, but I didn't actually I had a sort of unassisted pregnancy.
Right.
Just spoke with midwives.
Is it because the VBAC wasn't supported there? Is that why?
Yes.
So they don't support VBAC. That's kind of like their guideline. Okay,
well,
no more home birth centers with the VBAC?
Yeah, well, they do, but you have to meet really strict criteria for them to be comfortable with it. And because I'd had a classical, that just
But that's standard in Australia, right? A classical incision?
No.
So it's dependent on the physician at the time of the incision.
The only reason I had, because they went through my skin low down, and when they looked in there, they realised my lower uterine segment was quite thick because I was 30 weeks, and cutting through a thick uterine segment can cause hemorrhaging and all sorts of problems. So they had to go through. They made the choice once they'd opened and had a look at my uterus whether it would have been suitable to go lower uterine segment, but it wasn't. So they had to do classical. Okay.
All right. So, and that kind of, unfortunately, took you out of that category of meeting some criteria to be able to VBAC under their comfort level and their guidelines. Okay.
And midwives can't VBAC.
Right. So you kind of got put in a position. I'm assuming, like, I want to have this VBAC, so we're gonna do this unassisted.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because they gave, they basically said no. They wouldn't even let me trial of labour. Nothing. And I couldn't have a midwife. So we made the choice to.
And the delivery went how?
It was probably my favourite out of all my vaginal deliveries. It was 12 hours long, but it was really, really gentle. The contractions never really got. I was really relaxed, I think, so, without being stressed, my muscles weren't contracting really hard, or my body knew to be slow with itself, obviously. It just went, really...
No complications?
None, no.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work after delivering unassisted in Australia? Was there any repercussions of, oh my goodness, we don't have a birth certificate, or how to document this birth?
We had the midwife that I had chosen for my C-section baby. She would have really have loved to have been there at my home birth,
but because really hard for her to not be able to be there.
Because she's her license would have been at risk if she
Yes.
had have attended my birth. But she really wanted to support me. So she said to me that if your birth goes perfectly, I can come over the next day and do a mum check and a well baby check, and we can do, you know, help with your paperwork and
Great.
stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you had your support there.
I did.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, she was amazing. Really, really
And then
great.
coming here now, you're in the States. You had your last baby about a
year and a half
ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, a year and a half ago here. And you were temporarily in care with a midwife.
Yes.
You just kind of weren't getting the kind of care I think that you had said that you maybe needed or wanted or whatever.
Yeah, communication and issues and things.
Whatever. And that happens.
Yes, it does.
But you kind of ended up in another situation where you ended up not being able to find another provider and ended up delivering on your own.
Yes.
Kind of by choice.
Yes, yeah.
And you knew you could do this.
Yes.
You've done it before.
Yes.
And
even if I had have decided to go to hospital, I wouldn't have made it. He was born in an hour.
right.
So.
Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how this one plays out.
Well, they've all been different. I've had 22
Yeah.
hours, 12 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours.
Just give us a little bit of time to get there.
That's right. That's
So-
what me and my husband were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
When we first feel...
As soon as you feel something, you're gonna call us.
Yes. Yep.
Now, this time we're playing homing. You're not. Are you working at the birth center, or are you gonna do home?
Home.
Or you haven't decided? Home
Yeah,
for sure.
probably home.
Okay. So,
I don't think we'd make it here.
Yeah. And I prefer home births, even though we have the birth center here. Home births are just.
And all
just
my
things
kids,
so magical.
you know.
And having them all there and
Yep.
being home and getting right into like the family bed with the baby. It's just gorgeous.
Yep, and having after pains.
Not being in the car driving home with after pains. Yeah, I understand that. But we're really excited to have you.
Yes,
here
I'm
in
really
care.
excited.
And you're super
And that's like, you know,
treated.
I love having midwives and I love midwife-led care. And, you know, my last 2 births, I was kind of, you know, I had unassisted births because of my circumstance at the time. But this time we can have midwives. Our circumstance is different. So we can have midwives. We haven't had a home midwife birth before. We've only had midwife births in hospital in Australia. And then unassisted at home, so we haven't had a chance to have a midwife at home, which I think my kids would be fascinated with.
Yeah, they're going to be very interested.
Yeah.
I think they'll be big helpers.
Oh, they're great.
And just as a side disclosure, because she is a VBAC mom, she will be seeing an OB that we, as midwives, work closely with here in Los Angeles. And he will do a review of her medical records, which she's already done before.
She did for Harry,
Yeah, for the previous baby a year ago. But again, since she's in my care, she will have her medical records reviewed.
And I love going and seeing him.
Yes.
So it's fun.
And I'll drop that to Dr. Fishbein because we love him so much.
Yes.
He's amazing and he's a wonderful asset to the birthing community here in Los Angeles. And so she'll get a chance to go see him again and get that okay letter again to go ahead and have her VBAC out of the hospital, whether at a birth center or at home. And again, you have to meet specific criteria, and if he feels that it's safe, then we're blessed to have him support us in this journey. All right. So go ahead and throw out all your questions. Beck and I will both be able to see them and to learn more. And I hope this has opened up some dialogue in your own head, and maybe bring forth some questions and insight to see how different birthing in different countries can be. And seeing a mother's journey through so many, you're the first mom. And I'm like, wow, you've done it all. And it's a pleasure to meet you and get to see this baby grow and watch your family grow, before our eyes.
Excited.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You can also replay this video and go ahead and put some comments down below. And thank you for joining us at Pure Births.